So yesterday our lesson was on reading dot plots. So taking a dot plot like this one and looking to see a couple of things. We were mainly focusing on how many dots we saw, okay? Because remember, each dot represents a person, right? Also, we were looking to see, how much, like which number has more or which number has less than the others, okay? So today we're going to continue on with our dot plots, but today we're going to make them, okay? So instead of seeing a dot plot, what we're going to have is we're going to have all of the data kind of in an unorganized mess, really. And then we take that data and we put it into the dot plot. So our first question we're going to look at is this one. A 5th grade class recorded the height of each student. Okay, so think about that. If we went around and we recorded the height of everybody, okay, everybody in the classroom and everybody at home, they're wanting to know how could we organize the data. Well, since we're only talking about one thing that we're measuring, which is the height, we can put that into a dot plot. Okay, so what they have here is all of that information. Okay, so they're giving me my title. Okay, so my title is heights of, I'm going to say 5th graders. Okay, and they're even telling me what my label needs to be. Okay, so I draw my number line because a dot plot is on a number line. Okay, and I put my label, height, and they're telling me it's to the nearest inch. Excuse me, nearest half inch. Okay, so now I need to start looking at my numbers here. I see a 55. Okay, I'm looking to see, first of all, what my smallest number and what my biggest number are. Okay, so I see 50 and a half. Oh, and I do see a 50 here. So I think my smallest number is 50. That's important because that would be this number right here that would start here. Okay, and then I'm looking for my biggest number, and it looks like my biggest number is 60. Okay, so that means that my number line has to go from 50 to 60. Okay, now here's where it gets slightly tricky because it's not just whole numbers, is it? It's also half numbers. Okay, so I think I can put, let's see, I think if I do whole numbers here, 52, 53, 54, and I'll show you what I'm doing here in a second, 55, 56, 57, 58, and 59. Now I know that there's halves, but can I put a dot in between the tick marks to represent a half? I think I can. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to take each of these numbers and I want to put a dot on my dot plot. Okay, the best way to do that is when you take a number from the data set and put it on there, you cross it off. So I'm taking this 55 and I put it right here. Okay, and it's gone, and now I know I used it. Okay, so 52. Now this is a half, so look, there's two 50 and a halves. Okay, so 50 and a half has to be halfway between here, right? So that means that there's 1, 2 50 and a halves. Okay, here's another 55. Here's another 50 and a half, a 50, another 55, another 50 and a half, ooh, another 55, a 58 and a half. So a 58 and a half has to be between the 58 and the 59. a 60, a 52, another 50 and a half, ooh, and another 50 and a half, a 50, I have two 55s, I'm going to put it right up here, I have a 58 and a half, so there's another one, and then I also have a 60. Okay, now one thing you want to do when you have a lot of dots like this is you want to go through and make sure you have them all. So the best way to do that is to count. One, I see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, so there's 20 students that got their height measured. So I should have 20 dots. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Okay, so if I did not have 20 dots down here, I would need to go back and I would need to double check and see which one did I miss. Okay. Now, normally I'd give myself a little bit more room so it's not quite so scrunched together, but I didn't have a lot of room. Also, it is okay. Like if I wanted to go in here and I wanted to put these halves, okay, it's totally okay to go and put those halves back in there as a label, okay? And then, of course, like we did yesterday, I can easily see that 55 and 50 and a half were the heights that were the most common, right? Okay, so going on to our next problem. Okay, they're asking us to draw a dot plot to represent the data for weights of pumpkins in a crate. Okay, so all of this data table gives us everything we need to know. Okay, this is my title. Okay, and it's also my label. So weights of pumpkins is my title. I draw my number line and I have a label down here. Let's see, nearest 1/8 of a pound. Okay, now something to look at here, tally marks. Okay, you probably did tally marks when you were in younger grades, right? Tally marks just means that's how many times it happens. Okay, and that's the same thing as frequency. Okay, that's another one of our vocabulary words this week. Frequency and tally just mean that's how many times it happened. So notice there's 2 tally marks, so it's 2 times that it was 3.5. 3 tally marks, 3. 4 tally marks, 4. 1 tally mark, 1. Okay, so these 2 columns mean the exact same thing. So just like I saw before, I want to look for the smallest number and the biggest number. So it looks to me like this one, 3.5, is the smallest. And it looks like the 8 1/8 is the biggest. Now, on this one, there's only 4 numbers to be labeled, right? So because I can easily see that there's only 4 measurements, I'm going to go ahead and just put those 4. I don't have to put everything else. Like I don't have to put, 3.5, then 3, and 3/4, and then 4. And I don't need to do all that. Okay, so I have my 3.5 labeled and I have my 8 1/8 labeled. So I want to label this as 5 1/4 and then label this as my 7. Okay, and now whatever my frequency is for these, that's what I need to put in for my dots. So 3.5 should have 2 dots. 5 1/4 should have 3 dots. 7 should have 4 dots. And 8 1/8 has 1 dot. Okay, so that's how you take that information and put it into a dot plot. So now we have some questions to ask. How many pumpkins are in the crate? Now remember, we're talking about all of the pumpkins, right? So what we want to know, this is like when I ask you that question of how many pets you have, and we said that it was, each dot represented one person. This is just like that. How many pumpkins are there total? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 total pumpkins. Okay, I could also do that just by looking at these numbers. So 2 plus 3 is 5, plus 4 is 9, plus 1 is 10. Okay, and then this says, what values do you need to show on the number line? Well, again, that's these values. Pardon me. Okay, these are the weights that we got from those pumpkins. So these are the values that we have to show. We don't necessarily have to have anything else in between them. Okay, so when I'm doing a dot plot, if there's not a dot, a lot of times I can just leave it blank. Okay, it's okay to put a tick mark like right here when there's not a dot. But usually, especially if there's only a few, like this one only had 4, then we usually put those 4 and we don't put anything in between. Okay, so I'm just going to put an arrow right there. Okay, and then it says, what observations can you make about the crate of pumpkins? Well, I guess I would say that the majority of pumpkins are probably closer between 5 and 6 pounds, right? Well, I should say 5 and 7 pounds. That's where the majority of the pumpkins are, right? Okay, so I could, if I wanted to estimate that, I might say that most of the pumpkins were close to 6 pounds. Okay,